follow me and let's get out of this place. We could fly over our problems, watching clouds from a private jet. And you don't have to worry about the rain when only champagne gets you wet. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. 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 Oh yeah. I wanna put some diamonds in your ears and tell you everything you want to hear, and throw this money in the atmosphere. Can you feel me now? Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. See you in the golden sand on an island far, far away. Midas touch, I'm the magic man. Follow me and let's get out of this place. We could fly over our problems, watching clouds from a private jet. And you don't have to worry about the rain when only champagne gets you wet. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. 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 Oh yeah. I wanna put some diamonds in your ears and tell you everything you want to hear, and throw this money in the atmosphere. Can you feel me now? Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I magic man. Follow me and let's get out of this place. We could fly over our problems, watching clouds from a private jet. But you don't have to worry about the rain when only champagne gets you wet. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. 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 Oh yeah. I wanna put some diamonds in your ears and tell you everything you want to hear, and throw this money in the atmosphere. Can you feel me now? Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. Sand on an island far, far away. Midas touch, I'm the magic man. Follow me and let's get out of this place. We could fly over our problems, watching clouds from a private jet. But you don't have to worry about the rain when only champagne gets you wet. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. 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 Oh yeah. I wanna put some diamonds in your ears and tell you everything you want to hear, and throw this money in the atmosphere. Can you feel me now? Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, magic man, follow me and let's get out in this place. We could fly over our problems, watching clouds from a private jet. And you don't have to worry about the rain when only champagne gets you wet. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Anybody know I got the Midas touch? Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. 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 Oh yeah. I wanna put some diamonds in your ears and tell you everything you want to hear, and throw this money in the atmosphere. Can you feel me now? Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Anybody know I got the Midas touch? Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. I can see you in the golden sand on an island far, far away. Midas touch on the map.
Can you all hear me? If yes, please let me know in the comment section. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to day 3 of the Hashnode Bootcamp Fall 2023. Day 2 was incredible. We are just getting started. And as you know, my name is Daniela Passos. I'm the DevRel lead at Hashnode. You can call me Dani. And I hope you're excited for another day filled with learnings. So just as a memory refresher, yesterday we had topics like building developer communities, developer experiences, using rigs as developers, and even got an awesome fireside chat about Web3 and blockchain with Eric Tang. And it was both insightful and super fun. You guys had really great questions throughout the presentation. So major props to our speakers and also to you guys for tuning in and contributing. And today we are getting into the nitty gritty of tech life. So starting off, we have Dan Escal guiding us through finding job opportunities in tech. Next, we have Braden Wilmore breaking into how to build your MVP for you guys, indie hackers and hackathon participants. After that, we have YK showing us how to build in public and bolster your online presence. Last but not least, we have Mantika guiding us through the ABCs of technical writing, a big major win for you guys, Hashnoders and technical writers. So just as a heads up, so you guys don't forget, the Hashnode Bootcamp giveaway is still going on. So get your insights, get your learnings from today and also from the past couple days, write about it on Hashnode on X, and on LinkedIn, tag us, and you might just score an awesome Hashnode gift box, which I promise, again, you guys will love it. So keep those posts coming. Please tag us and let us know how much you're loving the bootcamp and all the learnings you're getting from each one of the sessions. As always, this is not a monologue, it's a dialogue. So I want you guys to feel free to contribute, ask questions, share your thoughts, and again, even challenge our speakers if you guys have a different take or have different opinions on what they are sharing. And that's the plan for today. Let's make it another epic day of coding, learning, and contributing and meeting each other in the comment section. So getting started, have our first speaker here. Dan, please come on stage. Hello, hello, sir. Hear you. Not yet. Hello, Danny and Dan. Hello, Sanjay.
Now, what about now?
Now we can. How
All
are you
right, good
doing?
stuff. First time using StreamYard, my bad. Doing great. Happy to be here. Thanks so much for hosting and having me.
Absolutely. Super excited for your session. Again, guys, Dan's going to walk us through to how to find job opportunities in tech. This is going to be a super insightful session for you guys and for all of us, and I hope you guys enjoy the talk. Dan, do you
And
have a presentation over here?
yes, I do. I'm gonna pop it on the screen. Just 1 second. Just quick question. How many
Okay.
people are here?
Right now, 100 people watching us live.
Wow, amazing. All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna jump right into it in that case. We only have 25 minutes here. I just for a quick background, I'm the founder of Up Top Search, which is a crypto native recruitment agency, and I also just launched Placement Labs, which I'll be giving you a preview of today. Placement Labs is essentially like a crypto career boot camp, all focused on landing a job. And I'm going to share with you some of my slides from Placement Labs. I have a lot more than the short time we have here for Placement Labs. So there's definitely more to it, but let's jump in. I have to add a
Awesome.
file here. Hold on. Didn't know how to. I can't share my screen. It's like I have to add a file.
No, I think you can hit present and you can either add
Oh,
like
here,
your
share screen.
slides.
Okay, I got it.
Yes.
I got it. All right. Okay, let me do this. Entire screen. Okay. Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. Hold on. Sorry. 1 second.
In the meantime, guys, you're here in the comments in the audience section. Where are you guys tuning in from? Are you guys based? Let me know in the
I
comments.
have to quit and reopen this. Damn it.
Oh,
I'll be right back.
okay.
Leave in the comments what specific questions you have about looking for a job. I'll come right back to it.
Togo. That's awesome. Barat, Germany. Hey, Atu, you're not late. We're just starting in. Our host and speaker will be joining us in any minute. That's awesome. Sunny Miami here. I was just in Miami about a month ago. Okay. So tell me in the comments, what stage of your career are you in? Are you an entry-level developer? Have you been writing blogs on Hashnode for a long time, or have you just started out? India, Philippines, New Delhi. I come from Brazil, but I live in the US. Welcome back.
All right, we're back. Let's jump right into it. Give me 1 second. Okay. Share screen, entire screen. Boom. Okay. Y'all see my desktop right now?
Yes.
All right. Let me pull up the course. Give me 1 second. Oh yeah, guys. Sorry I didn't see your questions. If anyone has specific questions about getting a job, definitely let me know in the comments. But I'm gonna give you guys a little preview of Placement Labs course, and
So,
kind of the stuff that
Dan,
we.
I'll let you take over the stage. And as we run and have questions, I'll bring the best ones on stage in the very end of your presentation. That's cool.
Amazing, amazing. All right, cool.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to run through this as quickly as possible. But I think number one, like it's really important to have your story down when you're talking about who you are, why you here, and what brought you here. And we're specifically talking about Web3 at this point. I mean, I hear a lot of people starting the conversation with, "Oh, I bought Bitcoin in 2017." And then I read the white paper, and then whatever. Like it's a very generic story, and I have provided here some prompts that can help you tell your story in a way that's gonna like grab the crypto natives, right? So when did you first interact with crypto? What did you like about it? What did you do about it? Right? And then how did you kind of pivot from that initial like thing that brought you in the space at first? So it's important to. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it's important to like have a story, have a narrative, and one that's gonna be unique and not just the same as everyone else. Oh, I started investing in Bitcoin in 2017. Instead of saying, you just started investing in Bitcoin, why don't you say, I attended a SUI meetup in Seattle. I was the only one there. I met the SUI person. They connected me with some projects that we're building on SUI. And I decided to do this, that, whatever. So just a little bit about how you create a story. And we can go into more detail on that when we have more time. Um, just so you know, for anyone who's not aware, this is just like a slide showing some of the most common jobs that are available in crypto. So I'm assuming most of the people here are technical. Is that correct, Danny?
Yes. That's
Yes.
correct.
Yeah, most of us are technical. Okay, cool. So just a couple of like quick notes on the technical side. Um, obviously we have like the blockchain engineering right here, and I assume that's what like most of you guys are interested in. Um, um, I would say like one note about this is like obviously these are really new skill sets, new languages. Candidates are typically not expected to have extensive experience in these roles. That being said, I'm glad you guys are here in the Hashnode Bootcamp. It's a big validator is side projects and like boot camps and things that you're doing to just independently and entrepreneurially keep yourselves like involved in the space. I think, to be honest, though, the people will get first preference if they have like classic, software engineering experience where they've learned best practices in a professional setting. But, I would say these are still like, I would say, it's definitely more it's definitely easier to transition into the space in a blockchain engineering role rather than like a classic back end, front end, full stack kind of role. I would say for the more traditional skill sets, tech languages, tech stacks, back end, front end, full stack. Obviously, just because it's a crypto company doesn't mean that every aspect of the project is on chain. There's plenty of like off chain Coinbases, Binances of the world that hire for more traditional skill sets. But for these roles, since the skill set is not quite as specialized as the blockchain engineers, I think what really moves the needle on hiring is a culture fit and passion for the space and having that 0 to 1 startup mentality. So in that to that point, like being here and showing you're engaging with Hashnode and taking these steps it does make an impact when you have a role where you're, one of many, candidates out there that have the same skill set. The way you separate yourself is content, passion, culture fit, and doing things like this and having that 0 to 1 mentality. Um, any questions about the type of roles that are available, and any any specific questions on these that you'd like me to speak to? Okay, keep moving then. Um, cool. So one thing I think is really interesting to touch on is like how people have transitioned into the space. And I have a few good examples of people that have made kind of not such linear transitions. Like it's not like, okay, I was a Java developer at New York Stock Exchange and Coinbase hired me for their exchange to do Java. Like that's an example of like a linear path where you were just walking straight and walked right into it. These guys right here have all made interesting transitions that I think are worth noting, and that's one thing that I love about the crypto space is that we're open. You're it's a space where you're judged on your merit that you bring today rather than like what you've done in the past 10, 20 years. Like you're judged on your merit and what you bring to the table today. So anyway, um, the first pivot I like to talk about is a guy named Tyler. So Tyler, in his most recent role before crypto, he was actually, oops, he was actually on the news. He was working for a local broadcasting station, and he was producing a podcast and doing some on-air work for a news station. And so what we did was we identified what is Tyler's translatable skill. And the translatable skill is basically communication and delivering a message out to a mass audience. So the way I actually met Tyler was on Twitter. On the side of his broadcasting job, he was running an NFT, basically an NFT focused account that was helping educate, just like Danny's doing here today, educate people on Web3. And he brought me in to do a talk about hiring in Web3. And basically, he was doing this as a way to build his own personal network and make connections. And it was a validator that, he belongs here. He's passionate about this. And one of my clients at the time, Prime Protocol, was looking for a social media manager. Now, Tyler has no prior experience with this exact job title. But if you think about what the function of that role is, it's to communicate and deliver a message to a mass audience, right? If you're doing social media. And that's essentially what he was doing in broadcasting. So he had the core skills, although he's never done the job. And he was validated by his passion for the industry through the work he was doing for the NFT group called Hidden Society. And so he came into that interview with a great story to tell and the skill set that was relevant to the job, right? So that's how Tyler made a transition. Another interesting one is Ben at Polytope. So Polytope is a crypto hedge fund, and Ben is a trader. Before he got his first job in crypto, he was a recent college grad who was working as an operations analyst at a traditional investment management firm that no one's ever heard of, basically. So he wasn't actually a trader. He was working adjacent to trading in trading, but he wasn't doing the trading, right? So he had some sort of underlying knowledge about trading, but he didn't have the resume per se that would help him compete in the market against people that had real trading experience. So while he was working in his TradFi job, he was paying very close attention to trends in crypto trading for his personal account. He was searching for alpha on all the right crypto platforms, and at some point, he found himself in an alpha group in a Discord where one particular member was discussing his trading ideas and strategies, and Ben, started pushing back on the guy and telling him like, "This is, you don't know what you're talking about. You're doing this wrong. This isn't going to make you money. This is going to fail." And so he's basically, excuse my language, talking shit to this guy on Discord. And what ended up happening was the guy actually happened to be starting his own hedge fund and really appreciated Ben's candid feedback that was, valid. Actually, he made some good points. And so this back and forth discourse on Discord ended up getting Ben hired as the first trader at this hedge fund. So the lesson there is basically participating on relevant platform and providing product feedback. That's really, really important to people who are building something new. So one way you can stand out is to demonstrate your knowledge and understanding by providing relevant feedback on platforms where they're searching for feedback. Cool. Hope that resonates. Another interesting one is Lauren at DFlow. And by the way, I placed all these people. So Lauren, interesting story on Lauren. So Lauren was a institutional salesperson at the New York Stock Exchange before she got into crypto. Came into the space walking a linear path and got a institutional sales job for a crypto data provider called Amber Data. And one day she came to me and said, Dan, I'm so sick of sales. I don't want to do sales anymore. I really like marketing and I want to make a transition, right? So transitioning again is not easy to do, especially in this market, even if you're already in the space, but making, jumping to a different skill set, that's a challenge, right? So how could she prove this? How could she do this? So on the side of her job, Lauren ran an anon Twitter account called Dumb Bitch Capital, which I encourage you all to follow. It's absolutely hilarious. And basically, she racked up through her social media content, racked up 14,000 followers on Twitter. And there are a lot of them are crypto native and real relevant players in the crypto space. And she's basically kind of built her own community and following around that, right? And so through her work on Twitter, building her own brand, building her own community, building her own following, she essentially was doing the bullet points that you would expect, or the responsibilities that you expect from a community manager, right? So if you think about it, big picture, community management is a subset of marketing. In a sense, you're marketing to your own followers, to your own supporters, to your own community, right? So Lauren had a goal in mind for herself that she wanted to be the head of marketing for this startup protocol called DFlow. And so basically, DFlow came to me and said, hey, I need a community manager. And what we were able to negotiate for Lauren is what I like to call a step down to step up, which is she said, okay, I'll do the community manager job for the near term, but I want the title head of marketing and I want a clear path for me to grow into a marketing role. So again, she leveraged her side work on Twitter and took this step down, step up approach to lead her to her goal of being in marketing. So I hope that resonates for you guys. And the last one is my guy Will. Will is the head of growth for me at Up Top, and what he did was how he got in the space was he basically pinged me 4 or 5 times in a row on LinkedIn after seeing some of my content, and I wasn't really giving him much time or energy, wasn't even paying him much attention. But basically he kept telling me, hey dude, this is when I just started my company. He said, hey, you really need a Discord. You could definitely be capturing a lot of more relevant candidates if you use a Discord. And I didn't understand the value of Discord at that time. I didn't know what it could do. And eventually, a couple months later, I realized, okay, maybe I should check this whole Discord thing out. And Will came to me and said, I'll build you out your server for free, right? And the interesting thing about this is, again, I didn't understand the value of Discord at that time. So if he had charged me, if he had said, okay, I can build you out your Discord and it's going to cost you $2,000, I would have said absolutely not, because again, I didn't understand the value of it. So what he did was show me this value for free. And as soon as I saw what he could do in the Discord, I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I really need this and I need you to manage it full time. So he was, his price tag went up at that moment. And because he did the work for free, it motivated me to pay him full time. And he's been with me for almost 2 years right now. So those are 4 different non-traditional ways that I've seen people transition that I think is kind of interesting. And I hope is helpful for you guys to hear about. So we got a couple more minutes here. Danny, did you want me to answer any questions or should I just keep going?
I think you can keep going, but just want to alert you that we do have a lot of good questions here.
All right. Well, guys, let me drop real quick. Let me just drop my LinkedIn here so you guys can follow up with me and ask the questions. I'll drop my LinkedIn. Actually, let me just drop my link tree. That would be better.
Absolutely. So
So if
you guys
anyone
can
wants to
connect
hit me
with
on
them.
the side,
Yes, on
here's how.
X, on LinkedIn, and everywhere. He
Absolutely.
also
All right.
publishes
Cool.
a lot of great content. So keep going.
Cool. Let me just. How do you define a clear path in an industry when people? That's a good question. How do you define a clear path in an industry people are just getting started with? Well, that's a good question. Let me actually ask that one, Audrey. Thank you for asking. So, one example I would say of like a clear path would be actually exactly on Lauren, right? So, in her, or let's take a different example. So, I don't know if you guys are familiar with finance that much, but I'm just going to stay on finance because I'm there. But um, if you work at a prime brokerage at a bank, you're without describing what a prime brokerage does, your clients, let's say if you work at Bank of America, your clients are going to be hedge funds, right? So that's who you're selling to, that's who your customers are, that's who you're dealing with. You're dealing with all hedge funds. So if you go into crypto, like Coinbase has a prime brokerage, and there's other examples of crypto native prime brokerage that are also selling to hedge funds. So what I mean by a linear skill set is basically taking, or from a developer side, I mean, if there's plenty of developers that are just C++ Python developers building trading platforms in traditional trading that just use the exact same skills, C++ and Python, to build trading platforms for crypto. So there's plenty of ways to use the exact same skills and things you were doing in your past life and translate them directly into crypto. That it doesn't work for everyone. That's not that easy for everyone. We don't all have that luxury, but there are plenty of examples like that. Does that make sense? I hope it does, Audrey. If you have a follow-up question, hit me on LinkedIn. But that's the example of a linear path, which is essentially doing the same thing. Referring to Lauren's example, she came in that linear way, but wanted to transition from biz dev to marketing. So to make that pivot takes a bit of work and it's harder. Hope that makes sense. Cool. I got 5 more minutes, so let me move on. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I won't spend much time on this, but I think in your job search, it's really important to not be almost like a generalist and be very specific on what you're looking for. And in my placement labs course, I talk much more about why that's important and how to take advantage of that. But a helpful framework to build out to figure out where you want to focus your job search is first starting by ecosystem, then starting by like what segment of the market you're interested in, and then looking at specific products that line up to those two things. So example, um, you know, figure out what are your core values that you are interested in and impact you and are meaningful. Then you figure out which ecosystem kind of embodies those core values. For example, Ethereum and Solana and Aptos are all three different ecosystems uh, that have different cultural values and different communities and different goals, really. So you, based on what your values are, you might align with a different ecosystem. Then within Ethereum, you see all the different kind of segments of the market: exchanges, asset management tools, infrastructure and dev tooling, services, stable coins, and this is just within DeFi, right? In Ethereum. So you see how far and wide that expands. And then, so then you're going to identify, okay, I want to do an infrastructure play. So I want to work at a layer one or a layer two. And then, yeah, you kind of map out like what are the different options in that regard. And then you're going to look at a specific product and focus in on that. And again, we talk more in the course about like what to do and how to help, how to make that effective in your job search. Um, and I guess to wrap up, I'll just give you I'll touch on a couple of hiring trends that are like relevant at the moment. Um, one thing, one thing I've noticed like really that's really been impactful in the last like year and a half or so. When I came into the space doing my recruiting thing, we were in a bull market, and I'd say in a bull market, you know, companies are racing to grow. There's other competitors that are building similar products popping up left and right, and so when they have a lot of money and they need to spend it and they need to hire, right? So in that regard, someone who quote unquote wears multiple hats can contribute. Oh, you can do some DevRel, you can do a little bit of DevOps, and maybe help us on the front end, but you're not necessarily a 10 out of 10 in any of those one specific areas. Like that's what we call like a generalist, and that is someone who is very valuable in a fast moving, high pace, high growth market. However, when the bear market sets in, companies switch their mindset, and the mindset is that, okay, I have X amount of dollars to spend on hiring. I want to hire the one person who's the absolute best I can get at the one specific skill set that I need. So basically, racing to build versus being conservative with cash. When you're conservative with cash, you're going to look for a specialist as opposed to a generalist. So that's why a lot of my course Placement Labs is geared towards helping you figure out what is your specialty, how do you develop that specialty, how do you grow that specialty, and then how do you market it, and how do you integrate that into your job search. So I'll kind of stop there in case Danny has anything else you want me to touch on, but I feel like I could have done a more, there's much more to go on all this stuff. And by the way, this slide deck is only one of three. So there's a lot more that we teach in the course. But yeah, that's what I got for you today. I hope there was something helpful in there for everyone.
Absolutely. So Dan, we have a lot of questions here. So I do want to spend some time with you and take a couple of questions. And guys, if you do have more questions, please hit up Dan. He pasted his link tree here in the comment section. Let's repaste that again later. But what are some of the key things that can set you apart or skills from other candidates that make you stand out as a fresher for a job role?
Well, that's a good question, and I'm gonna assume that you're technical, Sahil. So I'll speak to like something technical. But yeah, I mean, like I said, like if you have a crypto native skill set like Solidity, Rust, Golang, Move, whatever, um, and you don't have any work experience to kind of back that up, I would say like, I mean, I assure you, this is nothing that you guys already don't know, but definitely like contributing open source is going to be a huge thing that people look at. I would say, for people in the situation which I just described, a GitHub is more impactful than a resume. You need to have both, but people are checking your repos on GitHub. And I would say something even more impactful would be, doing one of those bounty audit programs like
Mm-hmm.
Immunify or Code Arena. Shout out to both of them. Basically, I just had a situation where I had a candidate who one of my clients was going to hire for a $300,000 base, a Solidity developer. And at the last second, he declined the candidate, and I asked him why, and he said, because someone who did an audit for me and found some really, really critical bugs approached me and asked for the job, and I had to hire him. I had to. So if you help contributing in that way, I mean, that's a way that you can get people's attention and show your value and stand out.
Absolutely. So Jairo asked, how do you get around hiring biases and gatekeepers?
Hmm. Hiring biases and gatekeeper. Can you give me a little, what do you mean by hiring bias? I don't exactly know what you mean by that.
Let's see here, Jairo. If you can extend your question in the comment section, that would be great.
I guess like to speak to the gatekeepers thing, I mean, I guess, you know, let's go to this Jeffrey one. You talked. All right. What's it?
As you talked about the generalist and the market, actually, some companies will look for the other person who fits their needs. for the person who fits their needs, how could the generalist find the specific skill where he can stand out and improve and become an expert on?
Good question, Jeffrey. I think ultimately, and I hate to give you a generic answer, but like, I think ultimately that's going to come down to like, what is your passion, and following your passion, and that's why we do this ecosystem segment product thing to help you, because like crypto, as you guys know, is so much. Obviously, it's about technical, but there's a lot of technical people out there, right? But what separates you is your passion for the project and culture fit, and ways that you can almost validate that and show that and prove that are through doing, like, are through being part of communities, being active on certain platforms and doing certain content, right? So I think, like, ultimately, and we can talk about what that looks like for each different, like, there's a different answer for that for different skill sets and different segments. But generally speaking, the answer to your question, Jeffrey, is to follow what you're passionate about, because you won't be able to gain that specialty unless you're like super committed to it, and you're not going to be committed to doing the side work that you're not getting paid for unless you're passionate. So that's where it starts. And I hate to give a generic answer, but it's true.
Dan, thank you so much for joining us. We're going a little over time. So, guys, if you do have any more questions for Dan, please hit him up. Dan, if you can paste your link tree here in the comment section, that would be great. So you guys can continue to both connect with Dan, learn what kind of opportunities both up top can offer you guys, and also learn from the bootcamp at Placement Labs. That would be awesome. So, Dan,
Appreciate you
thanks
guys.
again.
Thank you, Danny, for having me. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. If you're interested in doing this further, I have a Placement Labs course, and let me actually do one more thing. Let me link this Placement Labs application here, and there is a when you apply, there's a link to apply. Put the discount code up top 100 as a discount, and I'll make sure to factor that in pricing for you. Okay. Cheers, guys. Good to see you.
Thanks, Dan. See you later. Bye-bye. Okay, guys. How are you guys doing here in the comment section? Great. I already have the speaker for our next session over here. So for our next session, we are having Braden talking about building your MVP. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to have you over here.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. While you set up, share your presentation, your screen over here. I'll check in with everyone in the comment section. So as you guys know, Braden is the co-founder and CTO of Outerbase. We just held an awesome hackathon with them. So really awesome project. You guys should check it out if you haven't participated of the hackathon, and integrate it to your workflow for sure.
We had a great time.
Okay, I see your presentation here. So I'll bring it on stage and let you have fun. So for the very last 5 to 10 minutes of the presentation, I'll bring the best questions on the screen so we can start answering the audience questions, okay?
Sounds good to me.
All right, have fun.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in to this talk. Hopefully you'll learn something from it. My name is Braden, and today I want to talk to you guys about building out your MVP. I'm sure there's some subset of people here who at some point in your life have built out, gone from idea to like a prototype, and then tried to get it into friends or families or users' hands. And if you've gone through that process, you know how challenging it can be to go from idea to product to users. And not only just users, but users who both use and pay for your product. And if you've gone through that, you know the challenges. You can probably know or realize how important it is to go through the process of building out MVPs. And building out MVPs isn't just for the large companies of the world. It's for everyone. It's for individual people building out a company idea. It's for startups and the largest companies in the world, Google, Amazon, Walmart. They all build out MVPs of the products that they deliver to all of us. So it's something that we should become familiar with at all levels. And yeah, I think there's going to be some good tips and tricks in here that we all can learn from. Well, we'll start out basic. What is an MVP? An MVP stands for minimum viable product. At its core basic level, it's what amount of minimum effort can I use to identify if my idea can become a viable product. The business question we're trying to answer here is, can this become a business? And the interesting thing about it is most people actually get it wrong. They do it wrong, and they do it wrong at the very first step. I've been guilty of this. Maybe you've been guilty of this as well. But when you come up with an idea in your head, maybe the first thing you think to do is to run over to your computer and start slinging lines of code. I do that too often. Or you want to finger paint some pretty picture to start sharing with your friends. Or the worst offenders of the world, myself included again, is you go and buy the domain and you have 10 domains that you do nothing with. This is all wrong. You shouldn't start by doing this. Instead, what you should start with is the first phase of building out an MVP, and that's talking to people. Again, going back to what an MVP is, it's finding the fastest way to figure out if you have a viable product. Spending your time building something or making something look pretty to show people is not the fastest way. The fastest way is to talk to people and to get their feedback. And I know subconsciously, maybe all of us or some of us are screaming inside and saying, no, I hate talking to people about my idea. And that's true for many of us. But I want to have everyone overcome that fear and realize how much value you can get out of simply just asking a few basic questions. So I have 3 questions here. We'll dig into those here in just a little bit. But would you use it? How often would you use it? And how much would you expect to pay? These are 3 basic questions. I'm not asking you to ask about their life story. But if you're standing next to someone waiting for a bus or a train, or you're at a birthday party or wherever, just start asking people. And that goes into my next slide. One of my heroes, Steve Jobs, had a great quote. Most people never pick up the phone. Most people never call and ask. And that's what separates sometimes the people who do things from those who just dream about them. And I think that's so, fitting for what we're talking about here. It's important to talk to people. And at some point in a product lifecycle, you're going to have to talk to customers, whether it's before you start building or it's after you start building. But more likely than not, if you wait to talk to customers after you start building, there's already some kind of disconnect between what the users would expect it to be and what you've built. It's much better to front load that so you can understand how they would use it and what they would want to use from your product. Just as a quick example, maybe I'm hammering this in too much, but it's important. Everyone gets this wrong. I can go from an idea to my mouth to someone's ears really quickly in a matter of seconds. I can tell someone my idea. They can give me their feedback. And in a matter of seconds after I'm done with that conversation, I can turn to the next person with a slightly tweaked or altered idea, and I can tell them my new version of it. I can do this 50 times over in probably an hour or a day's worth of time. I could never produce 50 different iterations of a piece of software in a day. I could, I'm not an artist, but I imagine an artist couldn't produce 50 versions of their designs in a day either. Talking is really the fastest way to figure this out. So when you go to a person, you've tapped them on the shoulder, they're walking down the sidewalk. I challenge you to give yourself only 30 seconds to talk to them about your idea. Tell them what it is you're trying to do. Usually anything more than 30 seconds is you just mumbling on and trying to justify all the reasons you're building it for. But make it clear, succinct. Just tell them what you're solving. A lot of times when you hear someone have a problem, all you hear them say is, oh my goodness, I wish this would just do X. So your solution statement here could just be, I make X possible. It can be really basic. And then we dig into the 3 questions. The first question, would you use it? We're not looking for any complicated answers here. We're looking for a yes or a no. That's all. And you should be getting 2 out of every 3 people to say they would use it. This will not happen at the very start of you asking people questions, but this will usually come in one of 2 ways. The first is you're solving a world problem. You're solving something that everyone can get behind and everyone wants to see a solution for. An example of this could be world hunger, for example. You're going to be really hard pressed to find someone that you come across that doesn't want world hunger solved. But these are really difficult problems to solve. They're really expensive. There's a number of different red tape around them that make it almost impossible to achieve. So it leads us to our second one, the more likely scenario of you getting 2 out of every 3 people to say yes. You start asking people if they would use this product, and you probably get more no's than yeses. That's okay. But you start narrowing it down. So maybe you're asking friends and family, and you get a few yeses in there, and you start to really hone in on who those people are. And so maybe you take it to work, and you're getting more yeses. And then within work, you're talking to specific groups of people like product managers or developers. And now you're getting a lot of yeses. And so what you're really doing is you're narrowing down the who would use this product. And I want to be careful. A lot of times people think they know who's going to use it. And a lot of times you're wrong. You don't know until you talk to them. And so it's really important to talk to them. You're getting a couple of great things from a basic question. You're going to see how big of a market it is that you're trying to tackle here. If it's product people, just go to Google. How many product people are there in the world? Great. Now you know how big of a market you are addressing. The second and the most important thing you're getting out of this is now you have your first customers and you haven't even written a single line of code, right? You have people that have said yes, they would use it. So you better be writing their names down, their emails, their phone numbers, whatever it is. And when you start making this product, you know exactly who to reach out to. The second question is, how often would you use it? The goal here is you're getting people to say that they would use it on some kind of regular cadence. We want to see how sticky of a product we have here. As an example, if I had a business where I was just tending to trees that have fallen down in people's yards, it's a very unpredictable business. I can't predict when the next tree is going to fall down. But if I had a business where I was mowing yards, that's more predictable. That happens every week. I know there's some regular cadence to that business. And that's what we want to identify. We want to see if we have a sticky product. The third question is, how much would you expect to pay? This is a really basic question. A lot of people ask it the wrong way, though. Don't ask, how much would you be willing to pay? When you say would be willing to pay, a lot of people's initial thought starts at, well, I'd be willing to pay $0. They start at the bottom and they have to talk themselves up, right? And what we want to do is we want to plant the seed in their head of what would they expect to pay. I want you to start thinking about other products you pay for already where you get similar amount of value out of them, okay? And so really what we're doing here is we're seeing, is there an opportunity to turn this idea into a business? And with our last slide of how often they've used it, this can also translate into how often we can build them. And this slide, how much we can build them. So we're getting a lot of insights by asking 3 basic questions. Who are we building for? How often are they going to use it? Is it an actual product people will use? And how much money can we make from it? Then we get into the second phase. This is the phase everyone likes the most, the building. This is the fun stuff. But keeping true to the true nature of building an MVP, the goal here is, again, to continue getting the product into the hands of people as quickly as humanly possible. And there's 2 different methodologies that I like to use. We use at Outerbase. First one you might be familiar with is crawl, walk, run. The second is function, form, finish. I'll go into each of these a little bit further here. Crawl, walk, run, if you don't know it, you can think of it as the evolution of a baby learning to move throughout their life. They first start to crawl. This is like the core foundational piece of them understanding how movement works. And as they get older and more capable, they start to be able to walk, and eventually they get older too fast and they start to run. And so the same thing happens when we break products or features down. You take a feature, for example, and you need to start building the core foundational part of that feature that works. Just start crawling with it to see if A, it works as we expected it to, and B, people will use it. Let's just prove out the concepts there. Once we get the crawl part in, we can start walking. We can start building more stuff around the product. We can add some flair to it, right? And then once we feel comfortable, people are loving what we're building here for this particular product or feature, then we can run. Let's add everything that we imagine this feature having into it. And so we break down these pillars, and we'll break it down as small as you possibly want when you're building a product. It could be a feature. And so let's take crawl, for example. Inside each of these pillars, there's 3 micro steps to be done. And that is function, form, and finish. Let's say in the crawl phase, I'm taking a feature. the first step I'm doing is function. If it's a website, for example, I expect you to have basic inputs, basic buttons, H1 label. I don't want to see a style sheet. I just want you to prove out that from a functional perspective, this idea can work. Once you have the functional part done, you have people who have said yes, they would use this product. I want you to send it out to them. And I want you to say, hey, is this how you would have expected the functional part of this to work? Once you get the yeses that you hope to get, then you can go to form. You can put it together in a more of a user interface that people would expect to use, hopefully. And once you have the form part done, again, you're sending it out to them again. These are regular check-ins to making sure you're aligned with their expectations. One thing that we see happen way too often is you've talked to a person and you told them the idea and they're like, yes, I love the idea. And their expectation of this is going to be weird. You talk to them down here and their expectation of the product is up here, right? This is where they think it's going to be going. And so you start building down here. And what happens far too often is people start to take personal interpretations and verge away from what the user is expecting up here. And then they talk to the users at a far later stage and they spend their time correcting. But if you have regular check-ins with your users, you're building along the line of what they're expecting at all times. So don't do a really good job of making parallel arms like this, but use your imagination that it looked right. Once you get that idea from form back from your customers, you hear that it actually looks and feels as if they would want to use it the way that you're saying, then you can do the finish. Add the shadows, the animations, the sparkles, whatever it is. And again, at each step, you should be checking in with your users, getting the feedback. The one thing I don't want to see any of you doing is looking to impress people with any of those steps. These steps are here for you to learn, not to impress people. And I add this slide because a lot of people get down in the dumps when they get it wrong the first time. Going from idea to executing that idea is really hard. You might have a really, really solid idea that everyone agrees needs to be solved, but that doesn't mean that your first stab at producing that solution is the right one. Like an artist, you could be drawing a picture and you don't like how it turns out, you crumble the paper up, throw it away, and you try again. That's what you have to do. You have to have perseverance and you have to keep trying. There's a good example, at least it's good to me, we'll see if it's good to you, of a company called Theranos. If you're familiar with Theranos, they had a machine called the Edison. And the idea behind the Edison was with only a couple of drops of blood, it could run a lot of different blood tests and tell you how healthy or unhealthy you were. From an idea phase, when they're asking people if they would like to use this, of course they're getting a lot of thumbs up. People are behind the idea. In the comfort of my own home, a couple of drops of blood can tell me if I'm healthy. The idea there is great, but the thing we need to be aware of is sometimes the idea can be far greater than reality. And in the reality of Theranos and their Edison machine, it was like they could only run 12 different tests on this machine. And they didn't have regular check-ins, right? They weren't testing themselves or checking it. There's a lot of number of reasons why this failed, but I just want to make sure that while you're building the product, the idea and reality stay really tightly coupled together. The third phase, and this is kind of interwoven between the other two, but deserves to have its own spot here, is to learn. Again, with a fast iterative process with the MVP, the whole thing is to learn. Learn if we're going to be able to build something that people want to use. And so we need to be getting feedback from them. Now, there's nothing scientific about these three questions here. These are just icebreakers of conversation to have with your users. And in this phase, my challenge to you would be to don't talk as much as you can. Try to stay silent and try to keep your ears wide open. Let the users do the talking, and you should just be note-taking. And so there's a couple of tips and tricks you can do here. Talk to your users often. Try to set up calls 2 to 3 different users every week and just talk to them about your product, how they're using their product, what's going right, what's going wrong, what would they like to see you develop next for them. You know, just have an open conversation with them. You're going to learn a lot from your users. The next is create a dedicated channel, whether it's Slack, Teams, Discord, I don't care, email, snail mail, whatever it is. Just have an open line of communication for your users to share when they're having delight moments in your product, or maybe they're having troubles or issues. If they don't have a good line of communication with you, they're likely just going to try to find another product that fits the bill of what they need. But if they can talk to you, there's rapport there, right? They're going to have some level of loyalty to help you have an opportunity to fix this mistake. And the third and final is listen to your users. When you implement their feedback, make sure you reach out and you tell them that you did that. Make them feel like they had an impact or played a role in building out the best product you could possibly build. You want to make sure you're building a community, building some kind of culture where everyone feels like they're part of it. And that's all I got. That's all I got for this one.
Oh, it's awesome. We have a lot of questions, so I'll start bringing the best ones in.
All right.
So Jairo asked, do you have a way of organizing the timeline from conception research and then UI UX when creating the MVP?
It's really just like more of a waterfall than it is anything else. At least from practice of what I've done before and what we do at Outerbase is we go from the research part, we come up with the idea. We'll talk to users. We'll talk to the people who already use Outerbase, for example. Is this something that you guys would find value? And why would you find value? It's really important to understand the why it's valuable to them, because maybe there's more around it that they're just not saying. But once we understand and we've validated that that's something people want, then we start to design it. We'll put some designs together. We'll ship that out. Make sure, again, that it's aligned with their expectations, and then we'll start the building process.
Awesome. So when running these user interviews, is there a survey an effective way to know when if people would use your product? How do you get that answer and confirmation from them?
Yeah, it can be challenging, right? People's words may not always line up with their actions. I think that's one of the toughest things. A survey is not going to be, the best way. Talking to people who already use your product is usually what's best. Focusing on the people you already have on the product and not trying to get new people is sometimes better. And by default, the new people will come. Trying to think of what else to add there, but there's a lot of trial and error that really goes into this, to be honest.
It's kind of like an experimentation as well, right?
Exactly.
So how to find the spot when you think the MVP is ready in a context of features, design, without getting in the edge of making it to extreme perfection?
So it's a great question. The MVP is almost always ready. That's why we into the tiny, tiny steps that we have. Even the functional part where you don't have a style sheet at all, and there's just an ability it's a to-do list. As long as you can add a to-do into a bullet list, I don't care what it looks like. It's functional. That's an MVP. That's something people can actually use and get value from. Ship often, and don't be afraid that it looks ugly. A lot of times for a lot of problems, there's just not solutions out there. So the ugliest solution by default wins. You can look at companies like, I don't want to call companies out. I'll just say Salesforce. There's some really ugly products out there that just win because there's nothing else to beat them out.
As long as it works and as long as you can ship out like fix to the bugs, I think it's like good to go, let's say.
Exactly.
So Audrey asks, which part should we spend the most time on, the question phase or the building phase?
That's a great question. I would argue it changes for every feature, but the question phase is the most important, because if you get it wrong, if it's not something people actually want or will use, the building phase doesn't matter. So make sure you've locked down the question phase, that it's something people want, will use, and ultimately will pay for. A lot of people will use things, but they won't pay for them. Make sure it's something they'll pay for.
Absolutely. Lucas asks, what are your go-to tools to build an MVP? Have you used something akin to Basecamp's methodology?
I am not familiar with Basecamp's methodology. I am going to be upfront and honest there. My tools to build out an MVP are basic HTML. And then I rely on my co-founder and designers of Outerbase to make it look pretty, and then I just make it look pretty. I don't have anything good for this.
It's okay. What about if you're trying to show a new way of doing something that a user might not have anticipated, perhaps a much better way? How do you kind of like guide the user perhaps doing that, even in the MVP stage? Is there like an onboarding process or explanation of the product? How do you manage that?
So if you're trying to, there's one flag here that I get raised to. If you're trying to show them a new way of doing something that they might not have anticipated, maybe that's a red flag, because really you want to have a frictionless product where people can onboard themselves and know exactly how to be successful really upfront. If it takes hand-holding or explainers, again, that's usually a red flag for us where we should probably reevaluate what we're trying to do. But if you're trying to like prove out that the idea does solve a problem for them, it's just doing it on very small basic steps, incrementally showing them that it's there. But you just have to listen to their feedback too, because maybe you're pushing on it and they're pushing back. You need to listen that they're pushing back and not try to force something that's just not meant to be. We're all creative. We all wish that our ideas were the ultimate ideas, but in reality, that's just simply not the case.
Awesome. Okay, here's a great question, especially now in this startup world. When can you start trying to raise funds and to best avoid when being removed from your startup idea by investors?
It's a great question. Or I'll give a real world example for Outerbase. We started our company a couple of years ago, and we started raising funds a couple months in after building a rough MVP of our product. It looked good. It didn't look like a full feature rich product. All it was is essentially a table where you could come in and edit your database values. We raised money off of that and the idea of where we wanted to take it. You can raise money and raise funds really early on. If you look at accelerators like Y Combinator, for example, they will hire or bring people in with just an idea. You don't have to have anything, right? It can be really basic. Just be able to explain your vision and what you're trying to build. And then the second part about avoiding being removed from your startup by investors, make sure when you raise money from investors that you're raising money from investors you trust and that see the same vision that you see. And it's usually not until this Series A that you start bringing people on your board that have the power to do that. Mm-hmm. So you can raise a seed fund and still have full control of your company.
Awesome. That's a great answer. Okay, I have time for one very last question. So before building an MVP, what key questions should you ask yourself about the problem you're trying to solve and how you determine if the problem is significant enough to warrant the creation of a product?
Yes, that's a really great question. What key questions should you ask yourself about the problem you want to solve? So hopefully the problem you want to solve is something that you've felt before, and it's not just something you've experienced or you've seen someone else experience. Hopefully it's near and dear to you. You're solving a problem that you want to see resolved. Determining if the problem is significant enough is the whole asking people the right questions. Mm-hmm. Identifying the who. Like when you build this product, who are you going to go to first to ask them to pay for it? Is it product people? Is it developers? Who is it? If you don't know who that who is, then you shouldn't be building it. But once you identify that who, if it's product people, if it's developers, like I said, go to Google, see how many there are of those in the world. If there's enough of those people and they'll pay you enough amount of money, I think that's when you can identify if it warrants being created or not. But this is just for the business side of things. People looking to be profitable. There are a number of people who want to build just products out there that people love, and they don't care about the money side. And if that's you, by all means, you should be able to build that.
Okay. Well, guys, I see that there still are a lot of questions over here. So feel free to connect with Braden on X or Twitter or on LinkedIn. I'm sure he'll be happy to both answer your questions and tell you more about Outerbase, which is creating an awesome community. And also would love to invite you guys over there because there will be mini hackathons, workshop sessions, and many really fun community activations over there. So Braden, thanks again for accepting the invite and joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right. See you later.
Yeah.
All right, guys. How did you guys like the last session? Did you guys already build any MVPs or any products that you tried to take it to the market? How was that for you guys? Awesome. So Moving on, I have our next speaker over here. He's ready. And we're going to be learning from YK how to build in public, how to build your online presence, and have an ultimate guide from him on this front. So bring him on stage. Hello, hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Hello, Danny. Can you hear me okay? I'm doing
Yes.
great. Perfect.
All right. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So today I'm using a standing desk. It's unusual for me. That's why you see a little bit of behind the scene. This is supposed to look like a virtual background.
I won't
But so
deny
we have
that having a standing desk is like one of my goals for over the next months. I definitely love using those. Hey, let me ask you, do you have a presentation to share?
Yes, I do. I
Okay.
think I'll
Oh,
put
yes.
all of you in one screen and then I'll share.
Awesome.
I'll start my screen here. I need to figure out how to present here.
Okay. So, guys, again, Um, we're just getting started with another session by many of you guys know him as YK Dojo or CS Dojo. So feel free to ask questions, drop them in the comment section, challenge him, share your opinions, and how do you guys feel the points that YK is bringing to us today. And I see your presentation over here. Okay, so in the very last 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes of your session, I'll be back on the stage and bring the best questions from our audience over here. So we have around 158 people tuning in, Hashnoders tuning in to watch your presentation. So have fun.
Nice. Thank you so much for that introduction, Danny. And I see I see people saying hello. Really appreciate that. Hello, everyone. And I want this to be sort of an interactive session as much as possible in this particular format. So I'll be asking questions, and I know there might be some delay. So I'll be asking questions, and then I'll be looking at the responses as they come in. So let's start. I hope you guys can see the screen here and the slides. So first of all, tell me about you. Who's the audience here? Are you a student? Are you a blogger? Are you thinking about getting started with blogging? Do you already build in public? Do you build your online presence? Do you already have it? I know that's a lot of questions. It's going to take some time for you to kind of think about, type it in. That's fine. I can just get started with the talk regardless. So again, welcome to my talk about building in public and building online presence. I said masterclass because that's what I do. I like to, try to catch people's attention with the title, and that's one of those things that you learn as you try to build your online presence. Okay, and I'm just looking at the responses here: student, blogger, beginner, student learning, developer, building it, aspiring. So it looks like there's a lot of aspiring developers, website developer. Okay, interesting. I'm sure there are some experienced people here. It looks like someone working in Java full time. Okay, I'll try to cater to you guys, really. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is the challenging job market. And this is relevant to many of you because I know a lot of you are students, a lot of you are aspiring to get into tech. And you probably have heard it, a lot already. This is a really tough market. If you go into, LinkedIn, apply for jobs, you might not hear back from them. If you just, hear about people talking about this, you realize that compared to, let's say, a few years ago, this is an extremely challenging job market, particularly for junior software engineers. So for senior level and above, it's not too terrible, but I know that for junior level and I guess below, it's not an easy market. And part of it might be even because of AI. That's not necessarily proven, but that could be part of it. So you might say, this is tough getting into the industry. And let me paint a little bit more picture. You might have already have that picture on your mind, but just in case you don't know that, People often get out of school or get out of boot camps or whatever, and then they apply for jobs and they don't hear back. They keep applying for jobs, hundreds of jobs. They don't hear back from anyone, or maybe one out of hundreds, one out of 1,000. And that's just the reality. It is a really tough market right now. And this is actually understandable because you apply and then your application, you click that simple application button on LinkedIn, and that application of yours can be buried under hundreds of other applicants or even 1,000 plus. And again, I want to emphasize that this is not just you, if you've experienced this. This is the market right now. So you might say, what's the solution here? One of the solutions I want to suggest is building in public. And I would even argue that this is the main solution. We're going to talk about what building in public means and the benefits of it and everything. But I wanted to get started by giving you an example, a story of someone I know, a friend of mine actually, of how he's building in public. What he started doing was he started to, basically interview people on X Twitter. I'm just gonna call it Twitter, just so I don't have to say X Twitter every time. So he started to host Twitter Spaces where he would interview people. His name is Jason. Jason, if you're watching somewhere, hello. And his background is not in tech. He came from the TV and film industry, and he wanted a way to basically start making connections with the people in the industry. What he could have done is he could have done the typical networking stuff, like going to events, maybe going to these online events, talking to people, sending LinkedIn requests, apply for jobs, right? Which is a really hard thing to do, but he could still do that. But instead, he chose to build his audience and interview people. And you might say, okay, that's not quite building in public. But I would argue that it is. It's not really about tech. It's about building something that you find valuable, that other people might find valuable, and then sharing it in public. That's what it's all about. And the key thing here is to leverage your personal strengths. So in his particular case, his personal strength might have been the fact that he was really, good at communication. He might have learned that through his previous job. You might have your own, personal strengths, whether it's coding, whether it's building a community or something like that. Use that to build something, again, that you'll like yourself, other people will like, and then start sharing. That's pretty much all there is to it. And here, I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I got interested in this particular topic and how I got, better and better over time at this topic. I really started, roughly 10 years ago, several years ago when I started my YouTube channel pretty much. But more recently, I've been building this VS Code extension and ChatGPT plugin, which is open sourced. One of them is open sourced, called Kaguya. You can find it at kaguya.ai. And it's an AI agent that you can use in your code editor, basically. Instead of building it in private and not talking about it, I've been talking about it constantly. I think I might have spent basically more, as much work talking about it, or even more, as building it. And that way, I'm able to get users, people interested in the product, supporters, and some people actually even started to pay a little bit. And when I say people started to pay, it's great because I'm able to use that money to make the product better, pay for OpenAI, the cost and everything, API cost. But beyond that, just being able to build something that people find valuable, getting that feedback, and sort of contributing to the society that way, it's a really good feeling to have. So I would say there are a lot more rewards than just the financials when it comes to building in public. So you might say, okay, I'm interested. I want to do that. How do I get started? The first thing I would do, and you might even say, I don't have an audience. And some of you might say, I don't have friends. I'm sure some of you do, but some of you might. So in that case, I would say just go out there and make friends. Hashnode is a good platform for that, I'm sure. But I personally have used X, Twitter, I guess I should say Twitter, and platforms like that, LinkedIn, Threads, whatever you like. Just go out there and talk to people. The important thing is here, you're just trying to make friends. You're not trying to get followers. You're not trying to get jobs necessarily, not right away anyway. You're just trying to be there to contribute to the community, respond to comments, like their comments, react to them, so that you can contribute value first. And eventually, if you contribute sort of enough value into the system, you get some of it back. So here I want to talk about the power of engaged followers. It's much better to have 20 engaged followers than 1,000 unengaged followers. What I mean by that is if you just have a random 1,000 followers, let's say that you got from follow for follow or something like that, they're not going to react to you. They're not going to care about you as a person. So when you post, let's say, a tweet, you might only get 2 likes, even though you have 1,000 followers. But if you have 20 engaged followers, basically 20 friends, then when you post a tweet, you might get a lot more, let's say 10 likes. And obviously, likes is not the only metric that matters here. But the fact is, when you have people, like a core group of people, basically people you can call friends, then they'll support you. And that's a really powerful thing to have. So here, I think we've already talked about building in public a little bit, the idea of it, the value of it, and basically the idea of, having the first 20 engaged followers. And then, now it's time to actually start building something that you like and other people will like and start sharing it. So how do I find an idea? I would say, look around, look for a problem that you want to solve yourself. So in my particular case, I knew that I wanted to be able to use an AI agent, or at least AI assistant, right in my code editor, right in my chat GDP UI, with access to my local code file. So that's what I started. And I think in Jason's case that I mentioned earlier, he wanted to have a community like that, where he could talk to people in the industry, hear from them, learn from them. And that's why he created it himself. And here you might also say, I don't have any other idea or any problem. Like, I'm happy with my life, whatever. In that case, you can always contribute to other people's ideas. One good way to go about it is open source, right? That's a pretty popular topic, as I understand, on Hashnode as well. You can also do freelancing, if you want to get paid a little bit. You can also contribute to other people's communities or shows or whatever that might be, offer to help. It doesn't necessarily have to be your idea that you're building when you're building in public. The most common question, I've talked about this topic a lot on Twitter Spaces and things like that, those live events. And the most common question I get asked is, how do you get started with a large code base? Because when you get started working with someone else, or especially with open source, you're introduced to this really large code base. You might have learned to code, on the YouTube video with one of my videos or someone else's video. And that kind of use case is much cleaner, right? But when you're faced with, a much larger code base, where do you even start? I have a couple things to say about it, and I have a quick demo that I wanted to show later. I think we have enough time here. So the first thing you want to do is you want to understand the README, just README and understand what the project is about, and then make sure you understand it. Second, you want to set it up locally so that, you can sort of replicate the environment that README is talking about in your local environment. If you have any trouble doing that, ask for help. And then you might even want to fix the README so it's easier for the next person. That's one way to get started. And then the third thing you want to do is, you want to look at different issues and different discussions going on, see where you can help. Again, I think the key word here, as someone said earlier, is the value that you can provide to the community and, to that particular repo that you're looking at. And then the fourth thing is, once you decide which issue you want to work on, find where relevant pieces of code are. I'll show you a little bit of how you might want to go about it. One good way to do that is to do an entire code-based search, with VS Code or GitHub or something like that, of the particular UI text that you're looking at. And that way you'll be able to see, which parts of this code base are relevant to me. Okay, actually, I'm gonna pause just a little bit here to see what's going on in the comment section, because it's really hard to be up to date with it at the same time as I talk.
I can bring some of the questions here for you to start answering if you're down for it.
Let's just do one, and then I'll keep going with the talk.
Okay, let me see here. Is building in public a must while job hunting?
It's not a must, but in my opinion, it's the most helpful thing to do. And there are two reasons for it. One is you're building something, so you're gaining skills from it, ideally, open source or your own project or freelancing. And the second one is people will start to get to know you, when you say you're looking for a job later, right? Like let's say in 6 months, you'll be able to get their help even without, explicitly asking them for the help.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you for that question. I'll just drink water and keep going. So here, I wanted to talk about the importance of consistency. All of these ideas are really simple. Just build it and share. That's pretty much it at the end of the day. But most people don't do it because most people would rather do something that feels easier in the short term, which is click apply. Just click apply. It's easy. But in the longer term, it's actually much, much harder, in my opinion. So it's really important to be able to, be consistent, no matter how you feel on a day-to-day basis. Just show up and do the work. Show up, do the work. Show up and do the work. And it's very easy to say, but at the same time, extremely hard to do. And I have 2 more slides that I'm going to talk about. One is the most important lesson that I want to impart with all of you. And then the last slide is, it'll just say demo, and then I'll go into a little bit of demo about how to, the thing we talked about just earlier, how to get started with a large code base. But I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Hashnode and Danny for inviting me. When I got your DM, I was really happy to receive that. The reason I wanted to, decide to do this talk is because I just wanted to basically help out the community. I knew that it was going to be a free event for the community. Just wanted to contribute. Shout out to Propel Data Cloud. Propel Data Cloud is the handle that we have for letting me represent them here. Okay, so let's get started with this slide. The most important lesson. What do you think, in your guess, the most important lesson is? I'll just wait for that comments to come in, and then I'll look at the comments a little bit. Okay, I'll just say okay. Someone said just show up. Engaging, interesting, consistent, consistency. Right. Consistency, I would say, is the second most important thing. The most important thing is your energy. Here's what I mean. If you have a lot of energy in your body, it's easy. It's easier to stay consistent. If you have a lot of energy in your body, you'll be able to do the things that other people might hard. So, working on a hard project, working on a difficult issue, things like that, everything comes from your energy in your body. And what I don't mean, any like sort of mystical, weird thing. I'm just talking about your physical and mental energy. The way to get that is actually really simple. Get enough sleep, have a consistent sleep schedule, eat well, sleep well, don't have a lot of stress. Probably those 5 things. That's it. Everyone says that, but almost no one does it consistently. All of those 5. Like, some people might do like 2 or 3, but those 5, it's really, really hard. Because you might feel like, oh, I can be more productive just by cutting my sleep, but that's not true. You need to have more energy, and it's much better to spend fewer number of hours focusing a lot more than longer hours focusing less. And that's the lesson I wanted to teach you today. Again, this is extremely easy to say, but extremely hard to do. And I'm gonna go into the demo. So here, the situation we have here is, let's say, whatever you want to contribute to one of our open source projects at Propel, this UI kit. The first thing you do is, you look at the about section. Okay, React components for data visualization. That seems okay. If you don't have that knowledge, you might want to, go ahead and learn that first, and then look at the README, look at the issues, PRs to see what's going on. Check the closed ones too. And actually, interestingly, someone did try to contribute. Actually, someone did contribute. Her name is Christine. Shout out to her. And she sent us a PR. The way we got connected was actually through Twitter. She sent us a DM. We started to talk, and then I suggested this issue, and she sent this PR. And then later, I gave a comment saying, in a private channel, this one, actually, let's hold on to that, but let's work on a different project. And that's, let me see if I can find it. This one, Next.js starter app. By the way, if you go to Propel Data's GitHub account, you should be able to find all of these. And then I said here, how about this issue? So we're going to go through it together. This is basically, if you read the README, you should be able to understand it. But it's a starter application for anyone who wants to use Propel. It might not be relevant to your particular, audience or niche or whatever you're trying to do. But it is a good project to contribute to, in my opinion, as long as you have a little bit of React knowledge. So with that assumption, I suggested to her, right? Like, why don't you work on this particular issue? Basically, you can read the description, you can click through to see what's going on. But the gist of it is we have this way to show an error message, and it's not very helpful. So the issue is, can you make it more helpful? So I'm going to show you how to do that. First, obviously you need to clone it. And then after cloning it, you can go to README of any project you want to work on, and then look at the descriptions and check out how to set it up. This one is a little bit tricky because you need to sign up first. But after that, you do these things, and then npm install, npm start. For the demo, I already installed all the packages I need here. So I'm just going to write here, npm start. And I'm not gonna do the whole thing, the whole flow. I don't think we have time here for that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you the first step. Well, the first step is actually this one, making sure it's showing up kind of the same way as what I showed you, or what the issue says. Okay, so you replicate your local environment. The next thing you want to do is you want to go into your code editor, and I'll show you from the beginning here. Find which line of code is relevant first. Sometimes first, sometimes later. But what I wanted to show you is for this particular issue, I linked to this PR. This is the new line. And it's pretty easy to find. Alternatively, you can look for UI text the same way. So that's Command Shift F on Mac, search for that, find a file, and that's it. And one thing you can do to make sure everything's set up correctly is to change the UI text just a little bit. I can do it manually, but I'm going to use kaguya.ai. Why not? I'll say, instead of saying an error occurred, simply make it sound, let's see if this works, extremely serious, just for testing. And we're changing. Okay, I hope you saw that. I mean, I thought that was really cool. Critical error, systems stability compromise. Let's make it more serious. More serious. Like 350% more. So the point of making these small changes, whether you do it manually or in an automated fashion like I did, is to see right here. So that way, okay, I made a code change and something in the code base changed and something in the UI changed, so that you can confirm that you made a change. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the demo. Again, I didn't show the whole flow, but I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much.
That was awesome.
Cool.
We have a little minute more. So I want to bring one of the most upvoted questions by the audience,
Sounds
which
good.
is, what are the essential online tools and resources to effectively manage your online presence? And how do you measure the impact of your efforts and make it continuous improvements?
Right. So I would say you don't need any particular tool. All you need is, I personally sometimes use Typefleet, but the native, ways to posting stuff, that's just fine. Just use LinkedIn, Twitter, Threads, whatever you want to use directly. And then how do you measure the impact of your efforts? Look at what people say. Look at how people react to your content. How many likes are you getting? How many comments are you getting? Are the comments valuable? Just look at that.
Awesome. So one last question. Let me see. What is the best way to keep engaging your audience through your content?
Right. I think one underrated way of doing it is to go deeper. People often say, just post, like keep posting, stay consistent. And that's partly true, but that doesn't tell the whole story. It's much better, in my opinion, to go depth than breadth. If you're familiar with computer science, depth first search instead of breadth first search.
Absolutely.
So, DM people, not just, talk in comments, talk on live format like we are doing right now, or on a Zoom call or something like that. Twitter Spaces is, a good option for that. So again, go for depth.
One more question. Is consistency important for building and sharing in public?
What did I say? Did you even listen to my talk? You answer me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Always. I mean, if you're not consistent, you're not showing up, you won't get noticed enough to actually build a community and an audience, but that's for sure.
Right. So I want to emphasize health is really important too. That's where health and energy come in. If you're consistent, but if you burn out, then that's not good either.
Absolutely. Okay, we're a minute over time. So thanks, YK, for joining me today and accepting my invite. I'm really happy to have you here. And I see here in the audience that we still have a lot of questions and a lot of feedback from your talk. So, guys, please connect with YK on X or again, Twitter by YK Dojo. So, thanks for joining me. I loved your
Yeah.
talk and loved everything that you presented.
Thank you so much. I'll just quickly say, if you follow me on YK Dojo, I'll be happy. But at the same time, I can't manage notifications there. If you could tag me or tag us at Propel Data Cloud, or even DM us, tagging is better, then I'll be able to see your notifications.
Awesome. Thanks for making the time for joining me today again.
All right. Thank you so much, Danny.
See you later. Bye bye.
Yep. Bye.
All right, guys. How's everyone here doing in the comment section? Hope you liked YK session, and I see here that I have my last speaker ready and set to get started. So for our very last but not least session of the day, and one session I'm definitely very excited and curious about, we have Haimantika Mitra, one of my favorite DevRels in the space, developer relations and AppWrite, and she will be talking about the ABCs of technical writing. So let me bring her on the stage. Hello, hello.
Hi.
How you
Hi,
doing?
everybody. I'm great, Danny. How are you? Thanks for inviting me for the boot camp.
Absolutely, I'm doing great as well, and really, really
Yep,
excited for your session.
same here. I guess we can get started without any delay, but
Okay,
before that, I'll
let me
be
see
presenting my
here. Okay, I see
screen.
your presentation. Get ready there to present, and I'll bring it on stage.
Okay, just give me a second. Yes, it's right there.
Okay,
Perfect.
so guys, drop your comments, drop your notes for Hamantika. I am frozen for some reason, but that's okay. But drop the comments, and I'll bring the best answers, not answer, but questions to stage. Have fun.
Hi, everybody. I would like to say a big thank you to all of you for joining the boot camp and also staying tuned to the last session of the day. Today, I'll be talking to you about the ABCs of technical writing. So maybe drop in the comment section how many of you are developers by profession, which I'm guessing at least majority of you are, and how many of you have to write documentation or technical blogs or any kind of articles that are related to technology, be it for your work or you do it as a passion. I would love to see your attendance on the comment section. So, yes, hi, this is me, and we will be talking about everything about technical writing, how you can get better with it. So, let's get started with the agenda for today. The first is introduction, where you'll get introduced to me. Then we'll talk a bit about what is technical writing, since the session is all about it. Then some of the must-haves that you should have while writing an article. And the fourth one is some tips that can help you write better. And finally, some examples of documentations and also, blogs by individuals that you can follow for the kind of, I would say, the kind kind of way that can help you write better. So without any delay, let's get started. So hi, that's me. I'm Hemantika Mitra. I am a developer advocate at AppWrite. And if you want to know more about me, just go to your terminal, type npx space hello hyphen Hemantika. So that's where you'll get to know about me, my website, my hobbies, and everything else. But just a little more brief if you don't have your laptop and cannot open your terminal right now. So, by profession, I'm a developer advocate app, right? But by heart, I am a community person, even both with during and off work. Other than that, I love traveling. I'm travel almost, I would say, every quarter in a year. That's one of my hobbies. Other than that, I also like writing, and I also enjoy cooking at times. So yes, that's all about me. And moving forward, so the next topic is what is technical writing. Since this session is all about technical writing, we'll also talk about why do we need it and how does it help. So, to go by definition, technical writing is the practice of conveying complex technical information in a clear, precise, and understandable manner, and is often used for the purpose of informing, instructing, or guiding an audience. So to answer the question of why do you need it, this is something like the entire idea of technical writing is something that has been there since ages, even before technology was a thing. For example, when you're buying an oven or a refrigerator, it always comes with a manual that teaches you how to use it, how to set it up, and all of it, right? So basically, whenever you are introduced to something that you do not know about, or you are hearing about it for the first time, or you need to know more information on using it, that is when you come with a manual or with some set of instructions. And when we do the same with technology, it's called technical writing. And to answer the second question, that how does it help? If you are a professional who is into technical writing, and if you're aligned with a tool or a product, then it definitely helps the target audience of your tool or of your company or of your product to know more. It also helps them to integrate your products with their day-to-day applications and so on and so forth. So other than that, technical writing is not only just for tools or just for products. You can also write it for programming languages, or if it can be a general thought leadership blog as well, that let's say how you can improve performance of JavaScript, and then you write some tips and tricks. So basically the entire mode of technical writing is to share information, is to help fellow developers, or even somebody who is trying to learn development, how to, or how to use a particular language, how to use a particular technology, how to use a particular tool, or what are some of the things that is new. Basically, it helps them being informed about a technical concept in general. So that's all about technical writing. And next, we have some of the must haves that you must be having in your article. It's nothing very difficult, but if you keep in mind this mind map that I have right now in my screen, it will definitely help you, screen your first blog or your first article. A lot of times I hear from my juniors or also from my peers that they say, I started with a particular direction, but it's now going to a different direction, or I'm lost in between, I don't know how to end it well, or I have added a lot of information in between and I feel that is very lengthy. So to answer all of those questions and to make sure that you never get into this endless loop of I don't know how to move forward, I don't know how to end, or I don't know what to add, if you follow these must haves, I'm sure you'll have a good article, if not the best, in the first go. So the first thing is clarity. I like to follow the technique of teach to me like I am five, like I'm 5 year old. So whenever I'm writing an article or a documentation or a blog, I make sure that it's written in very simple language. I am not using any jargons or anything that will make it complicated. Be it any article, I make sure if it's something that I'm writing about and people haven't heard for the if or are hearing about for the first time, I make sure that I give it a bit of introduction. I also start from scratch about how they can get started. I make sure that I'm adding the relevant links. Then I also make sure that I'm adding the proper instructions that are written in very simple language, and then followed by the entire procedure of doing X or whatever I'm trying to achieve. So having clarity or of voice while writing an article is very important. Anything complex can make a reader, especially a new reader or a beginner in technology, lose their concentration and not learn about it. Next, we is conciseness. This is another very important topic that we must remember, especially in this generation where our concentration span is decreasing day by day. For example, when I was in college, I could watch 3 to 4 hours of long tutorials. Though I would speed it to 1.5x or 2x, it still would be at least 1 or 1.5 hour. But now, since we have shorts and reels, TikTok, and all of it, our concentration span has been decreasing from hours to minutes to seconds. So you realize that whenever you're writing a blog, it's very difficult for a reader or to have a reader glued to your content. So it's very important that your content is concise and to the point, and that can be easily achieved. Avoid unnecessary filler content, get straight to the point, and get straight to the information that your readers need. I love using bullet points, or I also love making a flow chart of things so that people know what to expect in the next session, next section. Let's say having a kind of table of content. So the first table of content includes introduction. If somebody is already introduced to the technology I'm talking about, they can go to the next step, which may be installing the tool or installing the dependency or anything. And if they know how to do the second step, they can easily navigate to the third step. So making sure that our content is very concise and to the point, it helps in making a reader glued to your content. And other than the table of content and bullet points, you can also use bold headings. You can use other formatting techniques. For example, if there is a note that you want to add, that let's say this version of tool uses xyz version of npm or xyz version of python, so you can use different formatting styles like italics or bold. So basically making your content in such a way that it is easily readable and a person can scroll through it without any difficulty, and making it very short and to the point is what is a must have in your article. Next, that we should have is visual aids. And this can be anything such as diagrams or charts, screenshots, anything that can help clarify complex concepts and make your documentation or your article more engaging. So let's say if you are writing an article where you are to tell them that these percentage of people believe that xyz can happen, and these believe that it can't. So what you can do to make it more engaging, or if there are more data, maybe you can have a pie chart or something like that to make it more visually appealing. And especially for something like a technical documentation, adding videos, short videos, not longer ones, of how one can navigate or what is the next step, adding screenshots, adding code snippets, all of these can help a person or a developer stay engaged to your article, and also copy it, copy it as in the code, or let's say what replicate the article that you have written into their actual production environment. So at the end of the day, with visual aids, with clarity and conciseness, you're not only writing a good article, but you're also helping somebody get started on a new technology or a new tool. And as writers, I think that is the biggest achievement that we can have. And the next thing is about accuracy. So, ensuring that the information you are writing is accurate and up to date is very important. So, one easy way to do it is, let's say if you're writing an article about Bun, so what you can do is you can go to Bun's documentation and read what are the new updates, whatever they have. You can also add hyperlinks to the documentation, but making sure that everything we are writing about our technology and also technology that we are mentioning is accurate and up to date is very important as well. Next is consistency. And one point to add about the accuracy. So if you are not accurate in your wordings or in the information that you are providing, it means that a reader will have to Google and the details and go through some extra hours or minutes of browsing to get to the point. So it means that the next time when they see your article, they may not want to read it because the last time the experience wasn't as good. Next, we have consistency. So, having consistency in terminology, formatting, style throughout your article is very important. Um, I am somebody who used to face this problem, so I like writing stories or having a story format to my writings, but at times it happened that I started with this narrative and ended it with something that just felt like a walkthrough or a tutorial. So maintaining the voice or the terminology or the style that you have started with throughout the document, and not only through one document, but if you're writing a series, or if you are somebody who is responsible for technical writing in your company, so making sure that all the documentation or all the articles have the same format, have the same style is very important. Finally, we have organization. I talked about it a bit in conciseness, but But having a logical flow, or this is not only important in your articles, but in general, in any developer tool, you'll see that there's a developer journey. So if you can keep that in mind while you're writing an article, I think that will be very helpful. So when I say about adding a logical flow, or it means that information should be arranged in such a way that it guides the reader through the document effortlessly. So for example, if you are writing an article about how to build maybe a search app, so the first thing, the flow should be in such a way that it should include introduction to what you're building. It should include prerequisites, because while writing, what I do is I remember that what are my pain points as a developer, what are some of the things that I feel is missing in certain documentations, or what are some of the things that I need to do again and again when I'm learning a new technology. So putting yourself in the shoes of the reader is a great way to write a good article. So when you're doing that, you remember, okay, for me, getting introduced to the technology is important. The next thing that I want is, what are all the things that I need to get started? So maybe a prerequisite. Then the next thing that I want is, how can I get started, or how can I install it, or how can I basically get started. The next thing that I want is, okay, what is a programming language that I need to code it, and how do I do that? And at times it's not possible to write the entire code base, so that is when you can link it to your GitHub code or something like that. But in general, adding a logical flow that you as a developer feel that, okay, if this is something that I see in an article, it will help me learn and drive through effortlessly, or make me instantly want to go and try out this product. So that's how you should organize your article. And this entire must haves mind map is true for you as an individual whenever you're writing a technical doc or an article or a blog, and it's also true for you as a professional who is involved in writing articles or documentation in your company. Next, we'll talk about some of the tips to write better. So the first one is purposeful writing. So have a specific goal in mind while you start writing. This is very important, because I feel that I used to face through this problem a lot of times, that since I was so into writing, since I loved writing, I would go in with the flow and end up adding things that didn't need to be there, because I wanted my readers to have or know everything that I'm writing about. So to beat that, what you can do is, you can have concepts. Let's say you're writing about community building, so you can have a concept about it. So let's say community building is the entire theme, and your concept can be that, how do I get started building a community, or what are the tools that I need to build a community. And the next thing can be that, how can I as a developer start a community. So having these concepts can help you decide the purpose of your writing. So for example, if you're writing a blog about getting introduced to JavaScript, so what is the goal in your mind? Your goal can be that, I want beginners to know what is JavaScript, how to install it, and how to use it, or how to know the basic terminology. And when you do that, or when you have an entire idea about what you want in your document or in your article, it's the next step that you should have is, write an outline. Write bullet points. Just write, okay, this is the first thing that I want introduction. The next thing that I want is prerequisites. The next thing that I want is resources. So have an outline, and then if you are not feeling comfortable with it, in last talk by OIK, you must have heard how he mentioned that you can always learn in public. You can share the outline in public, and ask the audience that, hey, this is what I'm trying to write in public. Do you think that writing this information, or an article consisting these information, will be helpful? That is the best way to get started if you're stuck in something. Next is, use simple language. I talked about it in the last slide as well, that use simple sentence structure, use directives, and also try to break paragraphs after every thought, just so that it becomes easy for a reader to navigate through the document. And also the language should be something that is not easy for anybody to get started, like I mentioned, my technique to follow is teach me like I'm five, or write to me like I am 5 year old. So that is something that you can definitely do. And if you want to change your style of writing, if you feel that if you're generalizing your content for just beginners, you can start with something um, in more technical terms is called A to B text testing. So what you can do is write one article which is very focused for beginners, and the next thing that you can do is try writing one article which includes information that can be helpful to beginners, to intermediate developers, or also to senior developers, and see what works the best. Or you can also try different types of writing. For example, you're following a tutorial blog, and the next time you're following thought leadership blog, and see what works well with your audience. Are they preferring, look at different analytics like the views, the click rates, and if you are building something, see how many apps are being built, or if people are talking about it or not. And that's how you can, you know that's how you can develop a structure for your writing. And that's how you can also define your target audience, which we will talk about after a few more points. And the next tip that I have is to add frequent checkpoints. For tutorials in general, you can use screenshots in between, or you can use code snippets, or you can also use short videos like a few second videos that shows how to navigate or how to do the step that you're referring to. And for leadership blogs, you can ask questions or incorporate discussions in between. I like to add questions in between that. I like to read it in a way that when I'm reading, I have thoughts in my mind. Okay, this is what it says, but what next? So if you add this question, what next, or what does it mean, in your article, I to me it feels it very interesting, and it instantly clicks with the reader that, okay, this is exactly what I was looking for, or this is the exact question that I had in my mind. So I'm interested to read what's in the next paragraph. These in general, it helps you increase the constitution span of your reader for your article. Next, we have use simple examples, and you shouldn't be having some example that nobody can relate to. Have relatable example. If you are writing a blog for a developer, so what are some of the problems a developer usually face? Let's say how to exit vim. I'm just giving an example, and maybe you can use that example somewhere, and then but make sure that your example is tied with the article that you are trying to write. If you in the thought of writing or giving a simple example, do not leave on having the continuity between your article and the main idea. So have some example that one can easily relate to. And also in general, if you are writing examples within the tutorial or within the document, have examples that do not require any difficult setups or are easy to follow. For example, if I'm reading an article where I can easily download, do something or sign in, register using a single click, or I can type one command on my terminal and get started, I think that is something that I will be eager to do, rather than following a tutorial which will require me to download n number of applications, set them up for hours, and then start using it. So having useful examples while starting your application, while starting your article, or also while trying to give your readers and a more, I would say, a bigger idea of what you're writing about, is very important. Simple examples all the way. Next is to define your target audience. While I was talking about using simple language, I was talking about A to B testing, how you can write different types of blogs. That, and when you see the number of views, or when you see the interest rate in them increasing, you will find out that what kind of target audience you have. And this is not only through your articles. If you have a community, or it can be, there can be various metrics that you can count or you can find to see who your target audience is. But once you find that your most difficult step, or step 0, is done, the next step is to write articles defining your target audience. And if you are an individual writing technical blogs, just because you love doing it, I don't think that you need to focus on that a lot, because in general your audience will be, let's say, developers. But if you are writing on behalf of a company, or if you are a freelancer where your blog can help someone get started or can help product adoption, I think this is very important to define your target audience, because that is what decides or helps you decide the level of your content. For example, getting started tutorial may help a junior developer, but the same getting started tutorial will not help a medium level developer who might already know how to do the first 10 steps that I mentioned. So defining your audience and then catering to your content accordingly, or curating your content accordingly, is something that you should keep in mind. And then finally, avoid adding too many links. Links can definitely help one get more reference to the topic that you're talking about, or can help them get better idea of what you are referring to. But if you are adding too many links in your article, it also creates a distraction, and the reader might not finish reading the article till the end. And what will happen is, since they'll not read your article till the end, they'll possibly not get to know what you're talking about, what technology you're talking about, or what tool you're talking about. What you can do as an alternative is, if you feel that your readers must know these links, have some of them in between the article, and towards the end have an entire section of resources, and then you can list all of the necessary links there. So what happens is, again, as I talked about in the last slide, that's how you can organize the entire structure of your content, and that's how a reader will stay glued to your content. So that was all about the tips to write better and the must-have mind maps. Now I do have some examples to learn from. While these are all docs of developer tools, but what I particularly like in them, the first one is Versal. I do love their docs, because if you go to Versal docs, you'll find that they have a very well defined developer journey, and it is very easy to get started with them. Next, if you go to Apprite Docs, you'll find that it also maintains consistency in voice, and it's very developer centric. And the articles that you see are written in such a way that it caters to the developer audience. While I was talking about in my last slides, that when you're writing something, keeping yourself in the shoes of a developer or your reader, it helps you get to the point, or helps you understand them better. So I feel that's something that Apprite Docs have. And then we have MongoDB Docs, which is my another favorite documentation example. And if you see that they are very concise, which I was mentioning as a point of must-haves, that they get straight to the point, where you can easily, and it's very short and very concise. It also uses the right amount of visuals, so you can just spend a few minutes on their documentation, get to know what it is, and get started building with it. So as a developer, I feel that we are somebody who would rather spend hours behind solving or bug fixing than reading the documentation first. But this is something that MongoDB did right by writing a very concise documentation, so that you get straight to the point and can get straight to building. So before I end, I think this is Hacktoberfest, and the month of Hacktoberfest, which means that you can contribute to open source. And it goes without saying that we from Apprite, we are participating in Hacktoberfest this year. So you can go to apprite.io. This is what our website looks like, and this is where we have a documentation. You'll see that we have a lot of quick start guides, tutorials, and all of those. And go to your GitHub account and search for the Apprite organization, and go to the website repository. This is where the tutorials or the docs are listed, and we do have a lot of around 20, I would say, around 15 issues that are listed for Hacktoberfest this year. So you can definitely pick one of them if you feel documentation is your forte, and you are welcome to contribute to Hacktoberfest at Apprite this year. And while that's all about AppWrite and AppWrite Talks, there is one more example that I have. This is an article that I wrote a few months back, and it's about building an open search app with AppWrite and Melisearch. The reason why I'm sharing this is because if you are an individual technical writer, this is the kind of format that you can take reference for. This is something that had this is an old article, but it's still being referenced even after a year and over. So what I try to follow here is that I try to give the readers some amount of context about what they will find or they will read in this documentation. Next, I mentioned to them that we'll be talking about two tools, and I just wrote one simple paragraph about what these tools are. Then I went next to what are the prerequisites. This is a full blown tutorial, but if you read it, you will see that it's very to the point, and it helps one get started with building the application. So I went to the through the steps. I added code snippets. I added some screenshots that can give them a visual aid that one requires while leading the tutorial. And here's the code snippet. And since this is a smaller code, so I could go and copy the entire thing. But if you're writing a bigger code, maybe you can add a pseudo code to it and add the GitHub repository link to it, so that helps in shortening the length of the article. And finally, I made sure to add all the down details that's required, and also the final step about how one can see the application in action. And then you can see that while I did have links embedded within the article, but I made sure that I am also having a resource list so that people can go to the docs or go to the required resources that can help them learn better about the tools. So that was one example, and I am almost done. The last slide is where it's just a thank you slide. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can scan the QR code, or you can go to your favorite browser and type hemantika.com. That's my website that has all the links to my social media handles, and that's where I am very active as well. So at any point of time, if you want to have a chat about communities, DevRel, technical writing, or anything in general, I am all ears. So that's all from my end. I'll stop presenting and over to you, Danny. Let me know if you have any questions.
That was a great, great, great presentation. Thank you for sharing those. Both myself and also everyone attending here loved it. So I do have a few questions from the audience, and I'll start bringing them in. I hope you have a couple more minutes here.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
first one from Aishwari. Please let me know if I spoke your name
Yeah.
right. Uh, is it a good idea to use more images in place of actual text to get the attention of the reader?
Yes, that's a very valid question, but I would say that finding the right balance is very necessary. So, if you are having, or if you're writing a tutorial which has 10 steps, instead of making it all in text or all in images, what you can do is you can write 6 steps as in text, and the next of the steps, like the 4 steps, can be a mixture of text and images. But I wouldn't say that having more images can help get the attention. Plus, one more tip that I forgot mentioning during my talk, that if you're adding images, make sure to add alt text. So this is something that we as writers should follow more to make our article more accessible. So the more number of images you use, make sure to use the adequate number of alt text as well.
Amazing. Yes, all text and accessibility is definitely a must have from all types of
True.
articles and images and interactive media for sure. So,
Absolutely.
when being concise and clear, while being concise and clear is important because of shorter attention spans, but long in
Yep.
depth article can also be a need for particular topics. What are your takes on
Yep.
this?
So what I like to do, keeping in mind the present scenario, is to break up the long, in-depth article into a series. Let's say maybe a 5-part series where the first part is to get introduced to the thing, and the next part can be to know more. So basically splitting the entire article into 2 or 3 series can help. And I have tried doing that while I was learning Angular. And what I also did was, instead of posting daily, as an individual creator, I used to post every week, so there was that surprise element that kept coming, and also more readers kept coming into my reading list. So that can definitely help. I would say spreading the entire article into smaller articles is the
That's
key.
awesome. That's awesome. And how do you make your articles relevant in the age of AI and AI generated content?
Oh, this is a great question. So, I am somebody who uses, or who scrolls about different AI tools on a daily basis, and I have seen that most of this AI content is very, very generic. And at this point, I do have the ability to understand which article is written by a human and which is written by AI. So I would say that you can definitely use AI. They're great to write an outline, or to get the first idea. The ideation phase of technical writing or writing in general is very difficult. So you can definitely take the idea from there, but having your personal touch, because I mentioned in my slide as well that putting yourself in the shoes of a developer, on the shoes of a reader, is something that we as humans can do and AI cannot. And if you see that most of the content by AI, it also uses a lot of filler content, and it's also beats around the bush a lot of times just to make it sound fancy. So that's something that we as humans can control and make it more meaningful and concise. So definitely, I would say that following the mind map of must-haves that I had can help you make your content relevant in the age of AI.
Amazing. I fully agree with that. Even with having Hashnode's AI
Yeah.
to like generate outlines, to fix like any typos from
Yeah.
the text, like you still need to have your personal touch 100%. Uh,
Absolutely.
One question from Sophia back to the image point. Do you think there's a specific limit for images when writing an article, sharing an article with your audience?
Yeah. No, there isn't. But what I would say is that maybe you can keep it to a limit of 8 to 10 images. That's what I try to follow in my articles. But that's something that comes personally as well, because when I am reading, or when I am deep into reading or following an article, I would like to go to the next step quickly, instead of an image taking up my whole space. So I would say that you should find the right balance for your article or for your target audience. But for me, I don't not exceed the 8 to 10 numbers, and at times even 8 to 10 is very huge as well. I maybe use just 1 or 2 image in my article. So there's no one rule to do it. Do what fits your developer, or what fits your target audience.
Absolutely. It depends, right? Um, One more question. Is it okay to write technical blogs in an informal way?
Absolutely. So I was mentioning about the story format of writing, which I do like to write in general. So I think that definitely, if you are forming the story writing way, that's if you call that the informal way of writing, then definitely yes, because that what create a sense of relatability with the audience. And when they hear a story about a particular thing, and when they see that this is exactly how it's tied to a technology, I think they can instantly relate to it, and be interested to know more about the particular tech.
Now, Audrey,
Yeah.
always with great questions. What set of skills make a good technical writer, according to you?
Oh, I think that there is not a particular set of skills that can make you a technical writer or a good technical writer, because it's more of a practice. Like even today, I don't feel that I'm great at it, and but I still believe that I'm improving with each document that I'm writing. But in my slides, while I mentioned that some of the tips and must-haves that one should follow. So have knowing how to curate or how to get straight to the point, or knowing how to hit that point where a developer or somebody who's getting started to learn your technology can get used to your tech is, I would say, is a skill that one should have. But other than that, it's technical writing is more of a practice, and the more you write it, the better you get. And there's not one skill that you're born with it. Anybody and everybody can do technical writing.
Amazing. Okay, I see that there are still a lot of questions incoming. Let me do one very least here. How do you simplify complex technical concepts to make them understandable to a non-technical audience? And what are the best practices for explaining technical terms clearly and concisely?
Ooh, that's a great question. So to simplify technical concepts, what I have been in a situation where I have been giving a presentation where the audience is not non-technical, I would say, but they are like a student audience, and they're in freshman year. They have very little to no idea of technology. So I talked, my favorite way to do things is to find a common ground and to give examples. So let's say if I am trying to explain to them about AppRed, which is a backend as a service. So I tell them, and I have to teach them about authentication. So I know that almost everybody uses e-commerce websites or different shopping apps or food delivery apps. So I give that example. And when I say that, hey, maybe you have a Twitter or a food delivery app or a shopping app on your website, and what's the first thing that you do? You enter your mobile number, or you enter your email and a password, and that's when you get or that's when you log into your app. So when I give them an example, they can instantly relate to it, and they can feel, okay, yes, I have this app, and this is the first step that I do. And then I slowly drag them into the technical world of things, that okay, that thing that you see, that box that you see, is called authentication, and to do that we have to use XYZ, and that's how you can do. So definitely I would say the story structure or giving examples that anybody and everybody can understand is a great way to simplify technical concepts. And some of the best practices for explaining terms clearly and concisely, that depends. But like I mentioned, that my technique to follow is teach to me like I am 5. So I imagine that I am a beginner, or I am somebody who doesn't know this technique or who doesn't know this technology. So what is it that I would like to know? Okay, maybe I would like to know, if I'm writing about AppRed, that what is AppRed? And if I'm writing about authentication, maybe I would like to know what is authentication. And if I know what these are, then why do I even need to know? So when you're giving a reader a purpose to read, and they can follow through it, so that's definitely how you can slowly gain their interest and give more examples, simpler examples. And I would say that in the first instance, you do not have to give the entire technical definition of what exactly these mean, but giving them some generalized or layman example is how you can explain to them the terminology in general, and later in the different parts of your article is where you can explain in depth.
Amazing. I see that there
Yeah,
are still a few questions here. So, guys, please connect with Hi on X, or again, Twitter. You
Twitter.
see her handle here, Hi Mantika M.
Yeah,
So, Hi, thank you again for joining me today. I'm really, really happy that you took on my invitation and
yeah.
gave us this amazing session.
Thanks a lot, Danny, for the invite. I was very excited to be here, and I hope that the audience had something to learn about.
Amazing. Do connect with Hi, guys. And she both shares a lot of good tips on both coding, about app write itself, and about technical writing on her social. So always a pleasure to connect with you and talk to you soon.
Yeah. Yes. Bye bye.
Bye bye. All right, guys. So here we are, winding down of day 3 of the boot camp. Do let me know in the comments what was your favorite session for today. And I hope you had as much fun as I did. Again, I'm Daniela Passos, Developer Relations Lead at Hashnode. You can all call me Dani. And I can't believe we are wrapping up and we are in the very mid of the bootcamp week. And let's talk about all the gems that we have learned today. So we got started with Dan sharing some killer tips about how to get a job in tech, and specifically in the Web3 blockchain space. Then we had Braden talking about a lowdown on building MVPs and how we can actually build and understand our audience's needs way better. YK also opened all of our eyes on building in public and creating an audience from building in public, and also creating this whole authority around you as you do it. And Haimanika just broke down all the ABCs of technical writing. And I see here you guys are commenting some of their favorite sessions. Do let me know who was your favorite for today. And again, just as a reminder, the Hashnode Bootcamp giveaway is still going on. So don't forget to blog about what you have learned today and also in the previous days of the bootcamp. Either blog about it on Hashnode or share a post on X or on LinkedIn. Please tag me, tag Hashnode, so we can all see your contributions and all your posts. And the post with most likes and comments will snag and take home a Hashnode gift box. That will be an amazing gift box. And huge shout out to you guys that attended the sessions today. I'm really looking forward to connecting with you again tomorrow. So let's stay connected, keep our conversations alive, and feel free to tag me on Twitter or X, sharing what was your favorite sessions for today as well. And if you want to learn more about anything that you wanna see, or about any points of the next sessions, I'm also available for you guys. And looking ahead, we got another super action-packed day coming up. So for day 4, starting tomorrow, we'll start with Kevin Blanco sharing how to create compelling video content for developer communities. Then Danny about how to document your work in and get a remote job in tech, followed by Tim sharing all the benefits of building in public for developers. And last but not least, for tomorrow, we have Musa talking how to leverage AI as a developer. And I'm really excited for tomorrow's sessions. I hope you guys are as well. So that's a wrap on day 3. Thanks for being such an amazing community, an amazing crowd, and joining me to learn all about these insights, tips, and lessons for today's day. So let's keep the momentum going, and I'll see you all here tomorrow. See you guys later.
See you in the golden sand on an island far, far away. Midas touch on the magic man. Follow me and let's get out of this place. We could fly over our problems, watching clouds from a private jet. But you don't have to worry about the rain when only champagne gets you wet. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody knows I got the Midas touch. 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 Oh yeah. I wanna put some diamonds in your